Let's set up my reading journal for 2023. Hey y'all, welcome back to Dots and Beyond. My name is Beth, and today we are going to be setting up my reading journal for 2023. Now, did I hit my reading goals for 2022? I did not. Are we still going to set up another journal for 2023 and try again? Yes, we are. Now, I like my reading journal to have a little themey theme, and this was my journal for 2022, which had a Lord of the Rings theme. I actually covered up the icon on this journal with a sticker, and this is how I like to collage and set up the inside of my reading journal. Many of these spreads are going to be the same, but we are going to do a few things a little bit differently. Since I was embarking on a Lord of the Rings reread anyway, each one of our months stopped by another location in Middle-earth, and man, I just do not have the bandwidth to do that again. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do a theme-related challenge, and that theme is based off of this gorgeous cover from Archer and Olive with this raven, and my theme for this year is going to be Edgar Allan Poe. My appreciation for Poe is an anomaly, as most American literature pre-1920 maybe I find droll and puritanical. Of course, I would prefer the author with the most Gothic vibes. I also prefer a traveler's notebook for my reading journal at this point. This one, as I stated before, is from Archer and Olive, has this really great dark blue color. I kind of wish it was black, but we're just going to go with it because it does have the appropriate logo on the front. I've also had it for about 10 months and known exactly what I was going to use it for in 2023. I'm also going to collage this version, and I have sourced a whole bunch of printables from My Porch Prints, which is the same Etsy shop where I got all of the ephemera for my pretty pink Christmas setup. I will link to My Porch Prints in the description box below, along with the rest of the supplies used in this video. I have also pre-stamped some headers on some tea-stained paper using my alphabet stamps. We'll use them a little bit more during the setup, but I wanted to get that out of the way to make this go a little quicker. And then I stumbled across this washi tape on Amazon probably 7-8 months ago called the Black and White Poet Society, and I have faithfully hung on to this to use it in this setup. Y'all, I'm normally not that patient, but this set of washi has got the perfect Poe Gothic vibes. We have skeletons, we have ravens, we have hearts. It's just a great set of washi tape for this purpose. Y'all, these collage setups are so supply heavy, and I've just got stuff everywhere. I'm also going to use some stamps. I have these quill or nib stamps that I picked up, as well as these moon ones. I've had them specifically for this setup probably 2 or 3 months, but I know that I will use them in other things. And then I have some standard script washi tape from the washi tape shop that I use in my reading journal. And then I also have some standard thin black washi tape, because how can I do Poe without some black washi tape? For this scrapbook style, I try to only print and cut out what I think I'm really going to need, but it is still a lot. So sit down, grab yourself a cup of tea, coffee, hot cocoa. I have some tea here in my Slytherin mug because I don't have a Poe mug. And I promise to edit out all of my moments of indecision, as well as the many times that I have a glue tape roller in my hand. This has certainly been a longer intro than I intended, so we're going to go ahead and get into it, and obviously I am going to mess around with this front nameplate. And the first thing we're going to do is just put down a base cover of ephemera. It's a solid sheet of paper that I printed out. We're just going to paste it here into the front and then work from there. To get it to fit a little more cleanly, I do go ahead and fold it in half where I think the fold is going to be and crisp up that line. That way I can glue just one side of this paper, fold the book over the top of it, open it back up, and then put glue on the other side before trimming the edges. Since that base layer didn't quite go all the way to the top or the bottom, I am just ripping up some other ephemera to stick in the corners. This particularly is a piece of tea-stained paper. I'm almost out of it. It's very, very thin. I get it from my local thrift store every time I buy something that could be broken, and they wrap it up, and then I just keep this paper and dye it with some tea. This style is rare for me, so I tend to keep it around for a little while. The last time I used this was in my son Kenny's September setup, which was a D&D theme. I used it to make maps. I will also link that in the cards above if you want to check out that video. I used part of this to stamp and tear out my headers, and since I only have a little piece of it left, I'm going to use that to put in these opposing corners. stickers. The My Porch Prints ephemera is really thought out. I mean, I could totally make my own. I have the Photoshop skills to do it. But this piece here with the raven and the portrait of Poe and the roses, it came like this, and I just love the way that it looks. This particular pea came out of a Halloween pack of paper. We've got orange skulls here on the back for Halloween. I think it's a pea from saying Happy Halloween. There were cards that you could cut out. I've had this paper pack forever. I've really never used it for anything. This is just my way of kind of saying I don't think you're going to be able to find this pea here 2 or 3 years later. I never plan where I'm going to place things when I'm doing these kind of setups with the ephemera. I just kind of follow my intuition and stick things where I think they're going to fit best. I do usually save stamps and round stickers to place in later to kind of pop into places that I feel need a little bit more color. Like I was really heavy on the red here on the right and the bottom right and felt like I needed to add some to that top left corner as well. Right now I'm just going to ponder and take a sip of tea because I feel like something's still missing, but I can't quite figure out what. And this is part of that analysis paralysis that I edit out for later portions of the video. Sometimes the simplest answer is the best, and I finally had my epiphany, that being black washi tape, and I really just felt like we needed another pop of contrast, which led me to sticking a few more things in and being able to finish off the spread. And this is how my Edgar Allan Poe 2023 cover page inset for my reading journal looks. I love the way this looks, definitely with the black and white and then the sepia tones and then the pops of dark red. Really makes me ready to start in on 2023 and my Poe reading challenge. Next up will be my index. Now my index is going to be a 2-spread setup. My index also serves as my list of books read, and that's because I want to be able to find where I journal about them or make notes about them, but I don't feel the need to write them down twice on a separate what did I read this year spread, so I just keep them all in my index and I can always glance straight at it alphabetically and know what I've read for the year. Now because we need to fit the entire alphabet on 2 spreads, that doesn't leave us a lot of room for decoration, but we are going to squeeze in a little bit at the top and a little bit at the bottom. And I'm going to highlight every other line, and this time I'm using the N89 instead of the N95, this one here, which is normally my favorite. The N89 really is just a warmer color, and I think it goes better with the sepia and the black and white than just the cool gray wood. I'm not even sure there's that much of a difference between them on camera. To the naked eye, though, there is a definitive difference in the shade, that they are both very, very light. For the decoration at the top, we are going to start with this washi tape that has this raven with his top hat and his monocle, and I really can't think of anything more Poe than this washi tape. And then it's just a matter of repeating the same process of little bits and bobs and stamps and stickers to finish off what areas we can decorate on this index. I probably could have stuck a few more things up around the top, but I really just love that washi tape and I wanted it to shine. With the index complete, we are going to move on to my goals. My reading goal for 2023 is 48 books, which is a very modest 3 books per month. It might be a little ambitious for me if I stay as busy as I have been. Now to do that, I am going to have to draw 48 little boxes. I'm going to draw those with a Pigment Micron 1.0, which is a thicker nib, and then I'm going to actually write in my goals with a gray Pigment Micron. And the mistakes are happening and going unnoticed until now. I have 2 Poe picks that should read 12. Read 365 days a year, 3 series end, that means trying to complete 3 of them, 2 memoirs, I do know how to spell memoirs, I'll fix that later, and 48 in 2023. Now here on the right, I am going to do a year in pixels. Am I going to complete it? We don't know. I've never been great at completing a year in pixels, but this is for my Read 365 challenge. I want to read every day, even if it's only for 5 minutes, so we're going to try to do a year in pixels. As a frame of reference, a year in pixels has 365 squares for every day of the year. Across the top are the month initials from January through December, and down the left column are the days of the month from 1 to 31, and then I've colored in the areas there at the bottom for February, which only has 28 days, and the other months that only have 30. This year in pixels is a yes-no kind of situation. If you were tracking more than just that, you might need a color key. Because I did not put a color key in here. If the space is empty and white, then it's a day that I did not read. If it's filled in with black, it'll be a day that I did read. I didn't feel like I needed to put in a color code for that. And of course I have filled up every nook and cranny with some ephemera for our Poe Vibes, and now we are going to move on to Release Radar Spread. Now I totally stole this name from Spotify, but this is going to be the spread where I track all new books that are coming out in 2023. And yes, I'm starting to lose my voice. Thank you for asking. You could also call this spread a future log for book releases. It's just a place for you to jot down anticipated books that are coming out for the year and what month and day that they will be released. And one Beth fun fact is that I am absolutely terrible at using this page, but I keep setting them up. There are very few authors where I feel compelled to read every new release that comes out. There's probably just a handful of them. When that happens, I typically just go ahead and pre-order the book and then forget about it until it shows up and I say yay. But in theory, I have a place to write those things down if I do decide to start tracking upcoming releases. I also try, not so successfully, to actually reduce the number of books that I buy each year. I actually think I'm getting better at it. And the reason for that is because my backlog is quite extensive. So this spread here is going to be a bunch of books that are on my backlog. They're books that I own either in digital or physical format, and I really need to get around to reading them. But I'm a mood reader. I can't really just do a TBR and say this is what I'm going to read this month. I just kind of pick and choose what I have. So we're going to go ahead and paste these in real quick. Some of these you may recognize from 2022's reading journal because I still haven't read them. And sadly, this is the tip of the iceberg. Next up are two individual pages instead of a full spread, one on the left and one on the right. The page on the left is going to be my FOMO list. Now, if American slang vernacular confuses you, FOMO stands for fear of missing out. I have figured out one thing about myself when it comes to specific styles of books that influencers can really get me to buy. And that tends to be books about books, bookstores, libraries, linguistics, that sort of thing. But y'all, my mom is a retired librarian. I grew up in a country that only had one government-regulated television channel when I was a kid, so we read books. On the right is a place for me to write in my Poe picks for January through December. You can come back in a few days to see my January setup, and you'll know what my Poe pick for January will be. I did say I wanted to not buy as many books, but that's not realistic, and so this is going to be the page for my book haul. It's a really simple chart with title, date that it was purchased, and format, either book, audio, ebook, or if it was a gift. And in the bottom right corner is another list of the 12 months, and this is because I'm currently subscribed to Book of the Month, and I want to be able to track if I skip a month or which book I get on specific months. I'm pretty fickle when it comes to subscriptions, and I really do enjoy Book of the Month. Will I still have it in September? I don't know, but just in case I do, I have a place to write down those picks. I've also been listening to a lot of audiobooks more recently, way more than I used to in the past, and so it's important for me to track what format I purchased the book. Next up is a series tracker, and again I'm going to go ahead and put in all of the solid straight lines for you. Y'all don't need to see me draw a whole bunch of boxes. I'm also creating a little section here in the bottom corner for my DNF list. I'm terrible at DNFing books. I just keep reading them hoping they're going to get better. I do need to get much better at saying this book is not for me and putting it down. Right now, I'm only going to write in 4 of the mini series I need to put in this area. I'm stalled on a lot of series, or I stopped reading before a book came out and I just haven't picked up the next edition. Right now, I'm just going to put in the 4, which are the Invisible Library series, Outlander, The Witcher, and the Robert Langdon books. And I'll do an inventory and fill in the rest of these later. And that's going to get us to the final spread for the 2023 setup, and this is going to be my book bracket, which I am not doing by month this year. I have left space for me to start with my 8 favorite books, not 12, but 8, so I'll have to choose, and then bracket it down from there until I get to my favorite book for 2023. I don't like picking a favorite book of a month, because if you have 3 5-star reads in February and none for the rest of the year, which one of those 3 do you pick? It's a conundrum I prefer to avoid. You might notice a lack of statistics in my journal. I prefer not to keep track of my reading statistics. At least not right now. This journal is really about me building back up a reading habit after a 4 or 5 year lull. Now let's flip back to the beginning for a flip through. I did forget to put one of my favorite spreads in this setup, and that is a dual spread titled First Lines. I'm enamored by what authors choose to put down as the first few words in a book. So I'm just going to set up a little something in the back and have my first lines work from back toward front. If you've made it this far, drop a book emoji down in the comments below and let me know what is your favorite book. My favorite books very often change with the seasons of my life. If you would like to participate in your own list of Poe picks, there are a myriad of free resources for Edgar Allan Poe fiction online. Most of it is open source and you can read it for free. I did set up fewer spreads in my reading journal this year as I pare them down and realize what really works for me. For more inspiration, I will link both my 2021 and 2022 reading journal setups below. I want to thank you for joining me for day 8 of Planmas. My schedule has gotten a little bit wonky due to some critical technical failures. Some videos aren't going up in quite the order that I had anticipated, but I hope you're enjoying them nonetheless. If you have set up a reading journal for 2023, I would love to see it. Feel free to tag me here on YouTube or on Instagram at Dots and Beyond. And if you are just getting ready to set up your reading journal, I hope you found some inspiration. You know what to do now. Give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one.